What you observe in many discussions, particularly in the United States, is that they have become highly divisive, including the issue of abortion. The essence of this division lies in the tendency to approach very complex issues through black and white thinking. In other words, you are not focused on asking deep questions to gain a broader and deeper perspective, and then using that understanding to improve society and the lives of others. Instead, you are fixated on and attached to two opposing views, two opposing resolutions. Either this or that must be achieved, seeing them as the only thing that matters or the only possible solutions. As a result, everything else is ignored, including other problems that, for example, make abortion an issue in the first place. When you look at the issue of abortion in the United States, you see on one side people who are absolutely convinced that abortion must be outlawed because it is morally wrong, while others argue with equal intensity that it must be allowed as a fundamental right for women. Both sides are entrenched in a binary black and white mindset, seeking one answer to the issue: allow it or do not allow it. This prevents people from attaining a more nuanced understanding of the issue and, therefore, a real resolution to it, as they remain focused on this yes or no answer. With all thy getting, get understanding. The solution to any problem must begin with a higher understanding of the problem. If we move beyond black and white thinking, you'll start to recognize the complexity of many issues in American society and the fundamental challenge they present to democracies, balancing the rights of different groups of people. In a democracy, issues cannot be resolved merely by passing laws that simply allow or prohibit something. That is not how democratic societies should address complex problems. This is why such issues have not been resolved in the United States simply by enacting a law. Instead, deeper reflection is required, along with achieving a broader perspective. Black and white thinking does not resolve problems in this day and age. This is becoming increasingly clear in many countries around the world, and it has the potential to become evident in the United States as well, particularly after the 2024 election of a president who is blinded by extreme black and white thinking. This is a leader who is solely focused on simplistic views of every issue, believing that merely allowing or banning something will solve the problem. When you examine the issue of abortion closely, you see that the black and white thinking in this debate centers almost entirely on the right of the child to be born. However, it completely overlooks the circumstances of the mother and the broader social attitudes toward women and the pervasive poverty that many children endure. In other words, such questions as, what is best for the unborn child? What is best for the mother or for a woman who may become pregnant, they are ignored. Take, for instance, a young woman raised in certain regions of the United States. She has gone through the public education system and grown up in an environment that, quite frankly, devalues women. In many ways, this environment perceives women primarily as sexual objects, existing for the pleasure of men. She has no higher education and lives in a low-income area where job opportunities are scarce and rarely offer more than minimum wage. She is taken advantage of by a man and becomes pregnant. What does her future look like? The man has used her purely for his own sexual gratification, with no intention of committing to her or supporting the child. She is confronted with the harsh reality of single motherhood alone and without support. If the only jobs available to her pay minimum wage, how can she realistically provide for a child under such circumstances? The pro-life movement often disregards the realities faced by women and children, focusing solely on the child's right to be born and insisting that every pregnancy must result in birth, no matter what, without considering the practical and social realities of life in America today. Is it truly justifiable to demand that a child be born under any circumstances, regardless of the conditions it will face? What is truly best for a child? Should a child be born to a mother battling alcoholism, drug addiction, or mental health issues? Should a child be born into poverty? What about a situation where the father is absent, just as burdened as the mother, or even has abusive tendencies toward a child? Should a woman sacrifice her future, particularly if the pregnancy was involuntary due to rape or incest? And what happens when a child is rejected or orphaned? What kind of future awaits a child in such circumstances? Why are we not considering the fate of children born into such harsh circumstances, where they are almost destined to grow up facing severe psychological challenges, increasing their likelihood of becoming criminals, addicts, or individuals who struggle with mental and emotional hardship throughout their lives? They become a burden to society either by ending up in the prison system or relying on constant welfare and mental health support. Is this the kind of people American society wants to naturally raise? These are the critical questions being overlooked in the current pro-life movement. In addition, we can note that the pro-life movement is also not interested in promoting adoption as an alternative or in significantly improving the adoption system. Nor does it demand social welfare support at a government level to ensure that women feel secure in carrying a pregnancy, knowing that both the mother and child will be cared for during and after the process, and where the child will have a decent adoption opportunities, or at least properly taken care of at the orphanage. Currently, the pro-life movement insists that society demand women give birth. Yet during and after the process, the burden falls entirely on the woman, as if it is solely her problem, completely denying her right of choice. Not only is this completely inhumane and contradictory to the essence of democracy, where choice plays a crucial role, but it is also a clear indication that these people do not truly care about life, whether that of the mother or the child. What they care about is imposing their specific ideological view on society, which is more important to them than genuine concern for life. It is a strange contradiction to claim that abortion is murder and that it kills children, while at the same time completely disregarding the suffering of both the mother and the child after birth. I trust that it's self-evident. When a mother is unable to pay her bills or buy food for her child, this is psychological abuse and poses a direct threat to physical life, be it of the mother or a child. Why does this movement completely ignore the real challenges women face in America? The irony of calling themselves a pro-life movement is striking. Whatever they advocate for has little to do with improving or saving lives. As I previously stated, these individuals are so fixated on promoting a specific outcome that they completely ignore everything else, including the real issues that must be addressed if they truly claim to support life. In most cases, this means improving the social conditions in which women find themselves. When discussing this issue, it is evident that in a democratic nation, outlawing abortion in cases of rape and incest reflects clear cognitive dissonance. A democracy upholds the principle that all individuals have rights, including the right not to be forced. If someone is forced into pregnancy through rape or incest, they should have the right not to be further forced to carry and potentially raise a child against their will. Denying this choice contradicts the very foundations of democratic ideal of freedom of choice. If a nation claims to uphold democracy, it must ensure personal choice in such circumstances, where force-based act is undeniable. Allowing choice in these cases aligns with democratic principles, whereas prohibiting abortion in instances of rape and incest is fundamentally inconsistent with the rights that democracy guarantees to the people. This is why people accept democracy, agreeing that problems will not be solved through violence or other force-based means. In return, they are guaranteed certain rights, one of which is the right to choose and not to be forced, unlike what is seen in autocratic nations and dictatorships. The pro-choice movement defends a woman's right to terminate a pregnancy at any stage, yet it largely overlooks the broader social conditions that drive women to make this choice. Likewise, the challenges faced by children born into difficult circumstances are often ignored. Neither the pro-life nor pro-choice movements seem genuinely invested in confronting these critical issues or addressing the real struggles of real people. Instead, both sides remain entrenched in rigid, black-and-white ideological positions, reducing the debate to a simple yes or no, while disregarding the deeper complexities that truly matter. Does allowing or forbidding abortion truly solve anything? Does it address the many questions I've spoken about earlier? These are the questions that must be at the heart of the discussion. It is clear that men, as a majority, are either unwilling or unable to take meaningful action on this issue for a variety of reasons. Consequently, the responsibility falls on women to take full and final responsibility for being a woman, demanding a better life not only for themselves but also for children and even men. Because unfortunately, history has repeatedly shown how easily men are manipulated by ideologies, by ideas, and by other men, leading them into a blind alley on many issues instead of improving society. In other words, it is simply time for women to take their rightful role in society and bring much-needed balance to democratic societies. You'll find that many other democratic nations have confronted these challenges and implemented policies that ensure abortion is accessible. At the same time, these countries have made significant investments in education and addressing systemic issues that impact people's lives. As a result, even with abortion being legal, the rates of abortion remain strikingly low. This is primarily because, in these societies, most women are empowered to prevent unwanted pregnancies in the first place. A stark contrast to American society, which is now visibly falling behind in social progress. In fact, women's situation in America is now in reverse. This decline especially began during the COVID pandemic. In societies where women enjoy greater equality and are not viewed as sexual objects, unwanted pregnancies are far less common compared to certain parts of the United States. I believe most people would agree that a woman has the right to avoid becoming pregnant. She is not obligated to bear a child at 16 or any other age. This is simply an option a woman has the right to exercise. And if you are a democratic country, as you claim to be, you are going to recognize the essence of democracy: choice. Therefore, there should be a stronger focus on empowering women to prevent unwanted pregnancies, truly respecting their right to choose whether or not to become pregnant. While this may lead to fewer births, how can a democratic society justify forcing people to have children, especially when many are living in poverty? In contrast, nations that prioritize improving living conditions often see more people choosing to have children because they can provide them with a stable and secure upbringing. Would it be better for society to improve the situation, overcome the poverty, and therefore have a situation where most pregnancies are wanted pregnancies? And therefore, if most pregnancies are wanted pregnancies, it sort of becomes irrelevant whether abortion is legal or not, or how late an abortion can be performed. Naturally, when it comes to the life of the mother should always have the right to terminate the pregnancy in order to save her own life. You can see how the issue of abortion becomes quite a complex issue beyond a simplistic, binary, black and white answer of yes or no, and touches upon other unresolved issues and problems in American society. How this whole mindset of wanting a simple solution, a black and white answer, does not help people solve social problems in America. This really goes to the heart of how a democracy can function in a better way. But in order to function in that better way, a democracy must make an effort to accelerate itself beyond black and white thinking or gray thinking so that there is a higher degree of discernment and willingness to examine the issues rather than find a quick fix patch with the law. What is the goal of a debate or discussion? The goal is to raise awareness of the issue, not to validate one position over the other. It is about considering what has not yet been considered, what escapes public awareness, and the deeper, delicate nuances, ultimately looking at what is best for the people affected by the issue. In this case, primarily women and children. It is not simply about having two opposing sides and declaring one as the correct position, nor is it about patting yourself on the back for presenting a barrage of arguments that may or may not be relevant to the real-life struggles people face. Because if you have holistic awareness of the situation, you can see the underlying issues rather than merely addressing their effects at the legislative level. When you're focused solely on proving one view, one perspective, or one solution, what happens to your vision? It becomes tunneled, rendering you completely blind. Your so-called solution is not a solution at all, yet you cannot see it. And when people are trapped in this narrow vision of black and white thinking while attempting to resolve a problem, is it really surprising that they cannot engage in meaningful discussion or answer the fundamental questions? What is truly best for the people affected by the issue? Why are they affected by it? How can we improve the situation? What other problems does this issue expose in our society? Unless there is a sincere willingness to examine the issue of abortion or any other matter, from a holistic perspective, many issues in American society will remain unresolved.